Welcome to tonight's webinar. I'm Liam Fay, your host for Business Station as part of the Digital Solutions Program. This workshop is being brought to you by the Commonwealth Government of Australia to help businesses grow in all things digital technologies. I'm one of the advisors for the program, have been for around about, I'm guessing here, but I think it's about 4 to 5 years, might be a little bit longer than that. I've been in business now for 14 years and own one of the larger production marketing creative agency companies in Queensland, focusing purely on social media content. And content is definitely king when we start looking at social media. So in tonight's webinar, for those that are watching online, we're going to be covering social media for business. We're taking you through using Facebook for business, how to create paid advertisements that work, what content to post, and learning how to use other social media platforms, including my favorite at the moment, TikTok. Now, for those of you that are watching this live, if you do have any comments or questions, you can use the chat and the question and answer functions that are at the bottom of your Zoom controls. If you're watching this later online, you can feel free to reach out to me at Business Station. If you are watching this later online or watching it live, you can. If you're watching this live, don't worry if I go too fast or you miss something, because you will get sent a link afterwards so you can go back over this webinar. For those of you that are just jumping in, I would like it if you could use the chat function to let me know what business, what industry you're in. It always helps me be able to tailor this workshop more to suiting my audience. In tonight's webinar, it's going to be totally live, so I'm going to be showing you my Facebook feeds. So a little bit of a content warning on that one. I don't know what's going to be coming up. But what I will be showing you is a business that I went into around about 5 years ago, and I took the business from closing down to being one of the largest stores in the Southern Hemisphere purely through how I approach the social media content. When we start looking at marketing and how to approach it on social media, there's sort of 3 different approaches that we can go down. The first one is creating content and running ads, putting ads in front of people to get more views onto our page and driving traffic that way. The next is the community engagement pathway, where we try and create groups and build communities. The final way, which is my way, is the organic approach. You put the right content in front of your audience will engage with it, they'll click on it, they'll like it, they'll share it, they'll tag on it, they'll comment on it, and they'll help you build your business. So I specialize in organic marketing, which is putting content out there without any paid advertisement. But we will be covering some paid advertisement in tonight's webinar. So let's get started. I am seeing the comments there for what people do, what industry they're in. So use the chat function, let me know. I'm going to get my screen shared and we'll jump straight into Facebook. We have Mark, who's an accountant. Definitely see a lot of accountants on here. Okay, so on our Facebook page, first thing to realize about Facebook is how it works. Facebook always wants to prioritize what content to show you because it puts ads in between its content. And every single time you see an ad, they make money. So as we scroll down through content, being another ad, they've just made another cent from me viewing this ad. So Facebook always wants to make sure that the content you see in this feed is content that it thinks you will value, you'll click through, you'll comment on. We have the feed, which is the posts going downwards, and we have the stories, which is the section at the top. We also have Reels now as well. So Reels came over straight from Instagram. A lot of people these days are clicking across on their content, watching stories, as opposed to scrolling down, especially when they're utilizing mobile phones. So if you're not doing stories already, that's your first takeaway from tonight's webinar, is create some stories. Stories are great because they're 15-second content. They're only up for 24 hours, so it's not serious content. It's not everlasting content. So it can be a little bit fun. It can be a little bit behind the scenes. It doesn't have to be real. So start creating stories. That's my first recommendation. With Facebook, Facebook sort of develops an algorithm on what content to show you based on how much you engage with it. So engagement is liking, tagging, sharing, commenting, and clicking. So the more you click on something, the more you like it, the more you tag it, the more you share on it, the more you're going to see content from that person or from that business. If your customers are not engaging with your page by liking, tagging, sharing, commenting, or clicking, they're not going to see your content in their feed unless you use paid advertisement. They will totally glance over your content. They won't see it unless there's nothing else for them to see. So very important that you put the right content out there for your audience to see and engage with. Every piece of content needs to be high valued content. Facebook tends to have an audience which is more 30 to 40 in age demographics. It tends to be in that middle age and older group. Instagram, which Facebook owns, is part of the Meta group. Instagram tends to be around that 25 to 35 market and much more orientated towards females. And TikTok, the new one on the block, which now has 30% of all Australians on it over the age of 18. Its audience tends to be a lot younger. It's in that sort of 20s teen type market demographic, but it's heading northward. There's definitely older generations on TikTok. If we look at the different platforms and how they're used, the average user in Australia spends around about 20 hours a month on Facebook, around about 8 hours a month on Instagram, and on TikTok, they're spending closer to 30 hours a month on the platform. I know I'm guilty of it, the constant stroll through, new content, new excitement. We're going to get to TikTok tonight. So on our Facebook feed, there's a couple of things I want to point out and have a look at some content. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into my page. Most of you would now be on the new version of Facebook business pages as opposed to classics. If you're not, then you need to be updating and switching over to it. So I'm coming onto the page. Currently, I'm viewing it as my customers view it. I'm going to switch now into managing the page. Once I switch into it, it's going to give me a lot more functionality and options. There we go. So first things first, you've got your bios, details, and action buttons. If we want to go back and view it how our customers are, we click on the three dots and go view as. Every time you see the three dots, Facebook is giving you some options. So you can see my action buttons are call now and message. To set up those action buttons, click on the edit page. Sorry, you click on the manage button. It's recently updated. I haven't figured out where my buttons are yet. Normally it was sitting there. Three dots, edit action button, sorry. There we go. That's where we can change our button or to link to our website or message or phone number. I chose phone number for my business. Now, the other thing is, and as you can see, I haven't actually updated this myself, this bio section, we used to have a lot more characters. As you can see, it cuts off now. So make sure you go through and update your bio if you've been updated into the new platform. Finally, you have your different locations, what your page is, address, emails, those sort of things. Over on this side, we have our content, our feed, the different things that we're posting, and we have our engagement. So we can see how many people are clicking on the various posts that we have here. So if I click on this one, I can see what sort of engagement I'm getting on this. When you have a post that does perform well, make sure you come over here and you click on the likes. As you can see, these people have liked the post, but they don't currently like my page. So I can click on invite and they'll now get a notification saying that they've been invited to like my page. So that's just a little bit of functionality. That's a good way to build out your audience. We come over here into Meta Business Suite. This is where we can get a more in-depth look at our business. So we have insights, which is going to give us all our data. I'm going to start on clicking on that one. So for this page, for the last 28 days, we've reached 3,600 people on Facebook, 400 on Instagram, and no paid ads on this one. Our audience followers is 64% female on Facebook and 54% female on Instagram. So interesting that we actually have more female followers on our Facebook page. tends to be more Instagram. The demographic is mostly in that 25 to 44 for our audience, but for most business pages, you'll tend to find it's 35 is your main audience. In the results section, we can see more detail. Now, the reach is how many people have seen your content in your feed, in those sort of places, in stories. The page visits is when people have actually gone and clicked on your business page. So they're after more details, they're looking for information on your business. This statistic, this data, I tend to prioritize a lot more than the reach. You want people to be looking at your page and wanting to find out new information and more detail about your business. So that is the more important one. In the audience category, again, we've just got a further breakdown of who our market is, including what cities they're from. This is actually a good thing to check. There's been times where I've been consulting with businesses, I've come onto their page, and I found out that 95% of their audience is from Bangladesh. And if you get a really weird sort of foreign audience, there's sometimes normally two reasons why. The first is that at some point likes have been brought for the page, they tend to be foreign. The other reason is because there's a business in those countries that have a very similar name or spelling to you, and they're finding that business. One thing that you can do is you can actually set it so that your business is only visible in Australia. This is actually a really good way to prevent any sort of limit and reduce scams where people create fake pages. I will show you how to do that one very shortly. Before we get into that though, I do want to show you the content page, the ability to actually be able to schedule your content. So in the content section on Meta, you'll be able to see your published posts and you'll be able to see your scheduled ones, your upcoming posts. I don't currently have any schedule, but I can do that. From here, I can also create a story and create a reel and create a post. So what I want to do is I want to go create a post. If you have your Instagram linked to your Facebook page, you're going to be able to schedule both your Facebook and your Instagram at the same time by clicking this downwards facing arrow here and going and clicking on the Instagram link as well. If you've got your business page linked to groups as well, you can also publish directly to groups. So in this case, I'm going to select Facebook and Instagram. I've got the ability to be able to customize it for both Facebook and Instagram. Now, the main reason why you do this is for hashtags. Instagram is very hashtag orientated. You want to be using hashtags on there. On Facebook, hashtags don't really do a lot for your brand. There was a study done back in 2018, the 1 billion report, which was a study of 1 billion social media reports. They found that when you use hashtags on Facebook, you get around about 30% lower engagement. So keep hashtags where they belong, which is on Instagram. In terms of what hashtags you're going to be using, you want to use hashtags that are location-based. So hashtag Rockhampton, the region that you're in, hashtag industry, and hashtag brand. So you want to be using a hashtag that's related to your brand, like for my brand, hashtag Lad Social. If I was doing digital solutions, hashtag digital solutions. The other hashtags that you use, you generally use them between 5 and 9, should be relating to the post that you put up. So once we write our very exciting copy and add our photo or video, we can publish our post straight away, or we can schedule it or save it as a draft. If we go schedule, it will show us what times of the day it recommends we post our content. This is the optimal time when your audience is most active. This is going to be different for every audience. You can probably find it is in that evening market. In terms of actually when to be posting your content, really depends on when your audience is online. And I don't recommend always posting at the key times, because at different times of the day, you get different audiences. In fact, I've even had success with certain businesses, mostly in the retail space, at posting at the early hours of the morning. If you post at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m., those sort of hours, using the schedule tools, then there's very little content that's going up on social media. So yours is more likely to be prioritized, and there's a different market on there. You might have night shift workers, emergency service workers, anyone who essentially works at night. It could also be mums that are breastfeeding. It could be gamers that just finished playing a 12-hour marathon. So there's definitely markets that you can access in the early hours of the morning. So I recommend when you're starting to work out when to post, have a bit of a variation, try different things because you'll get different responses. My other tip is don't post bang on 6 p.m. because that's when everyone does it. So go 6:07. Go a little bit random, you'll get a lot more response from it. Normally around about now, I haven't had any questions pop up from the audience today, but normally the question I get is how many times should I be posting? So my recommendation around this is quite simple. For most businesses, 3 times a week is the golden number. If you can be posting more and it's good quality content, then definitely do it. If you can't be posting more good quality content, then aim for 3 times a week. If you can't do 3 times a week, do twice a week. If you can't twice a week, do once a week. But try and have something that's always pushing your brand forward and always promoting your business. 3 times a week, though, does seem to be the magic number for most businesses. So that's my recommendation there. In terms of what to be posting, I'm going to at this point jump into a different business, and it's the example business that I was talking about before. When I first met this business, they were closing down, and now they're the largest store in the Southern Hemisphere. So give me one moment while I jump into their profile. If you have any questions, now's always a great time to be asking it. Widest audience I've had for a while. Okay, resuming shift. Welcome to Millennium Comics and Collectibles. So when I first met the owner, he was done, started consulting with them and rebuilding their business. Now, the strategy that we approached with this business was the same one I do for most businesses, which is social media starts with the idea that it's social. And what that means straight up is that you have to have people in your photos. When we come onto social media, we're always looking to see people because we're on there to see what our friends and family are doing. We're on there to see what's happening in our community. We're on there to buy things off Marketplace. We're not on there to see things from businesses. So having people in your shots is the first step for really pushing your brand that extra bit further. Every single time I put people in photos, they always perform better on the page. The next thing is while this one's a little bit wild and out there, is try and have something that's a little bit more exciting than just your generic post. Have your staff with your products, do those sort of things. In terms of photos versus videos, if you do video well, it can really drive your brand and your sales to your business. If you can't do video well, then photos is the way to go. Photos sell your message instantly. Your customers can find out exactly what you're doing then and there. While with videos, they might have to watch through a fair bit of the video to get that point across. So if you're doing videos, one of the key tricks is to make sure that your thumbnail that you use is essentially the same as it would be if you were trying to do a photo post, and also throwing captions in there is a good idea. As soon as you have captions on there, people who might be watching the video but don't have sound in for some reason, they're still getting the full message. So if you're doing video, have captions, but generally for most businesses, I recommend you go down the pathway of doing photos. If you do thinking to do videos, I'd start with doing your stories, do your 15-second videos. It will sort of get you up to speed and you can start tracking your trends to see how many people are clicking on it. So put up your post, have your copy, bit of a question, those sort of things work well. And when you get a post that performs well, jump on and invite people to like your page. So with this business, we got it to turn around completely by the idea of just always having people in the shots. As soon as we did that, a lot more engagement, which meant that people were seeing more things, they're seeing more things, so come in and start buying it. So yeah, now one of the largest stores in the Southern Hemisphere. And we did it purely through a completely organic strategy, so nothing paid. If we jump into the No Business Suite and we have a look at the insights, Rob's been kind enough to let me use his page for purposes of training. You can see that this page in the last 28 days has reached 13,000 people, and none of it has been paid. So it's purely just for good quality content posting. If I look at the results, 5,853 visits to the page, which is actually down from the previous month. You're always going to get ups and downs. And again, none of this is paid. It's purely organic. Now, you might be thinking that, okay, it's a pop culture store. It's very exciting. So that's why they're getting good results like that. I have industry brands that sell steel that get very similar results to this. I just can't share their data. So there's definitely a market there through organic content just by making sure that you post good quality content. So when I'm looking at what content to actually be posting, the real nitty gritty of it, there's generally 4 steps to it. And these create a loop that feeds back on itself. The first one is a brand awareness post. When we start looking at brand awareness, it goes beyond just what our logo is. It's the people in the business, it's the values of the business, it's why the business started. So there's a lot that you can do with a brand awareness post. Normally what I'm doing first is I'm starting with creating an introduction to the staff members, the owners, the key personnel, the faces of the business. And my post structure with that is normally introducing Liam, the creative director at Lad Social. Liam's been in the business for 14 years and has worked from international brands down to small local businesses. So who I am, my role in the business, and what I do in the business. Sort of my experience with it. The next line is generally what I enjoy most about work. Liam loves doing consulting and advisory work, but he also loves to pick up the camera occasionally and create content for his clients. The final line is throwing something personal that people can talk to you about or connect with or relate to you. When Liam's not hard at work in his business, he likes to take light aircraft flying. Zulu down to X-ray here. So that's normally my structure. 4 lines. You don't have to do big long form content. No one's ever going to read it. You want to keep things nice and short and simple. For businesses that sort of don't have exciting activity and things going on, there's still a lot that you can show around brand awareness, from where you're located, people in your business, why you started, and the values of the business. When we're doing a brand awareness post, we're really saying, who are we and why should you care? Every brand that we interact with, we sort of create a feeling towards them. If we look at 2 of the biggest brands in the world, Samsung and Apple, I'm a Samsung user every day of the week, and I always will be. Simple reason is that every Apple screen I see is always cracked. And I'm a clumsy person. I drop my phone on daily. If I had an Apple phone, I would destroy it in a week. Samsung though, the screens don't break on them. At least I haven't been able to do it. So much so that I'll go to a stage event, I'll take my phone and I'll drop it on stage, pick up the phone, and I'll be able to look at the audience and see whose face goes when I drop the phone. Because I know those are the Apple users. So I've created the opinion that Apple phones have low quality screens. That's how I feel about the brand. I think Samsung, I think good quality. So when we're doing a brand awareness post, we're really asking our customers, how do they feel about the brand, and to form an opinion. The next step after brand awareness is capability. In capability, we're not trying to sell. This is the mistake a lot of people make, is they go, we have phones, these are $4.99, you can buy them at this link. You don't want to be doing that with capability posts. Capability posts is what you can do for your customer. See, did you know that we offer this range? Did you know that we have this service? Did you know that Mark from accounting can also do your BAS and bookkeeping? It's the Annie from Business Express. Sorry, Annie, I can't remember what Business Express is. I know you've been in my webinars and that before. It's the Deb is cryptotherapy cool sculpting. She can freeze the fat off you. So in the capability post, we're really just trying to explain to our customer what we can do for them. And you think about all the different services that you offer, create a list of them and create a post for each of them. That's right, Andy, business support. So think about all the different supports that you offer for businesses, and then create a list, create a post that demonstrates each of them. Ideally with a picture of yourself or you supporting your customers in it. The next step after capability is action. Action's where we need to capture the dollars and get the money from our customer. So at the action step, what we're saying to our customers is jump onto our website, pick up a phone. We have a special on 2 for 1 this weekend only. Get your customer to take action and let them know what the action is. Visit us in store, click on our website, call us today, send us a message. Whatever it is, we want our customer to take action. The final step after that is testimony. At the testimony stage, we're saying to our customers, hey, Liam, you had an incredible time in our business. You love our product. Can I get a picture with you? And then take a testimony that I'll put on my social media. You might even be able to put on your websites and those places as well. The great thing is that anyone who sees that, who knows me, might then go, hey, Liam, what do you think of XYZ business? What was your experience like there? So where you can, try and get your customers into the shops. It always works out well. And if you get your customers into it, their friends might see it, which starts the loop again going, who is this business? So once they find out who the business is, then they find out what they're capable of. Once they know what they're capable of, they might take action. If they take action, capture that action and their experience with your business. Then feed it back into the brand awareness. Closed loop that feeds back in on itself, constantly generating business for you. That is my 4-step process for creating content for social media. Okay, so I want to show you now some of the advertising side. Before we do that though, I want to show you this cool little post that one of my staff did for one of our businesses that we work for. It's a farming place, sells some range of great products, and they put this post up. This one saying, can you find Andy, who's one of the salesmen, among this stock? This post performed quite well. It's sort of like a Where's Wally. He's hard to find. It took me a bit. I was doing it myself. And when we look at it, there he is hiding behind the tire. Now, what's this post? Do you think it's a branding post, a capability post, action post, or testimony post? And we'll think about it for a minute. What are we trying to actually get done with this particular post? What we're trying to promote is capability. We're showing that we have plenty of stock available for the customers to come and buy. So this is just an example of how you can approach your content in a non-traditional way that draws a lot of engagement. This one had a lot of photo clicks, so that's why it performed so well. Okay, so let's jump in and let's look at some paid advertising. So for this one, I'm just going to jump back into my own business page. Logged into it, we pick a post that we want to promote. Let's say this one. Now, there's a few different ways that you can do your ads. There's Ad Center, Boosting, and Ads Manager. Ads Manager is definitely the best way to do it. And I can do an entire 1-hour workshop just on an Ads Manager, but it's like a Ferrari. If you don't know how to drive a Ferrari, it will be no fun whatsoever. Boosting Post is like a Camry. It doesn't do anything flash, but it will get you there. Will get you there reliably. So I'm going to show you boosting for the purpose of this webinar. It is not the best way to do it. Click on Boost Post. Now, they have this advantage one. I'm not a big fan of how it works, so I like to turn it off. We have our goal at the top about what we want to achieve: more messages, leads, engagement, calls, etc. visits to our websites. I'm leaving on the call now as my action button. Got my phone number in there. If we're in credit, employment, housing, social issues, election, politics, then we want to turn on the special ad category. It just means that there'll be additional checks and balances put in place for that one. Coming down to this next section, we start to discover the real power behind Facebook. Facebook has the ability to reach the right customers for you for almost tiny amounts of dollars. No other advertising platform has this power. I'm going to take it through in detail. We have a few options for targeting. We can create our own market, select our own audience. We can choose people who like our page. This one's just really great if you're trying to retarget past audience and get them re-engaged with your page. We can choose people who like your page and people similar to them. Generally, friends have friends with similar interests. We can target people in your local area. So just simply dropping a radius down in your region and targeting people in that space. It's in miles because it's an American platform. Americans have yet to learn how to count in lots of 100, but 1 mile, I believe, is 1.6 kilometers. Someone who might have grown up in the miles era, feel free to correct me. But for this example, we're going to choose people through targeting. So I'm going to click on that one. I'm going to click on this pen icon here, and I'm going to select my audience. Now, we've got the option male, female, all, and we've got the choice of age range. When I adjust these sliders, you'll notice that my estimated audience size down the bottom here is going to change. So this is good if you want to research how many people for a certain demographic or interest are in your area. I'm just going to leave this purely default. Next step down here is location. So by default, I've got Gladstone, Rockhampton. I'm going to add Gladstone on it. I'm going to add Perth. Perth in Western Australia. There we go. And let's just say I want to add all of New South Wales. I can add towns, I can add entire states, I can add entire countries, I can add just local areas. If I want to scroll down into Townsville here and say I just want to target this suburb, I can drop this pin down on the suburb. By default, it's going to take me 10 miles. All these ones here are 10 miles, that's as low as you can go. But if you drop a pin down, then you can come down to 1 mile. So you can just target your local suburb. This is especially useful if you're like a cafe or, sort of one of those shops where there's lots of you and you just want to get people in the immediate area. Next step down there is our detailed targeting. In here, we have demographics, interests, and behaviors. In demographics, this is sort of all the detail that we feed into Facebook, like education. Financial doesn't work unless you're targeting an American audience. Life events like birthdays, new job, new relationship, newly engaged, newlywed, parents, whether you have kids, how old your kids are, those sort of things. Relationship status in a relationship, married, domestic relationship, open, engaged, divorced. Complicated is one I've had an incredible amount of success with the forest. I'll let you figure out why. Work, so you've got different industries, what sort of industry they work in, construction, extraction, forestry, management, productive services. If they work for a small business, large business, big business. Job title as well, auto mechanic, diesel fitter, whatever it is. A lot of options there to target. Next to that, we have interest. So interest is all the different pages that you interact with and click on. So hobbies and activities, pets, gardens, farming, transportation, vehicles, sports, action, shopping, fashion, food, beer, wine. If you can think of it, it's in here somewhere. Next to that, we have behaviors. So these are things like what sort of, if we're a new active business in the last 12 months, it's things like what sort of mobile device we use, Apple, Amazon. It's also things like what operating system we're on, if we've used Facebook payments lately. It's if we're a Facebook page admin. So if you want to target business to business, boom, you hit the business page admins and you can do that. I'm also going to pick out, let's say, food and wine, people interested in beer. And let's say games, board games. Okay, so I have an audience here, Facebook page admins, beer, and board games. This is a and or relationship. As in, they only have to meet one of these categories, not all of them. And if you want to narrow it down further and do narrow targeting, that's when you've got to get into Ads Manager, where you can really fine tune your market down by creating different levels. So this is really good for really broad targeting, but you can also just go, hey, I want to target just people who are interested in board games. And that's how big my audience is based on the regions I selected. As you can see, I've got rid of the whole state of New South Wales. My audience has dropped quite a bit. So if I save that audience and I come down here, the next step here is our budget. So I'm going to go down to 1 day. And I believe the minimum ad spend is $1.45 now. It's always that $1.40 mark. So if I run this ad for 1 day, at a cost of $1.45, I'm going to reach between 146 and 421 people based on the audience that I've chosen. That is incredible ability. If I go, let's say 10 days, my budget has to be $14.50. I'll just put $15 on it. $15 over 10 days, total budget 15, 10 days of ad time. Every day I'm going to reach 152 to 441 people. If I can really narrow down that audience down to exactly the type of customer who's interested in my product, I am going to get clicks onto my page, I'm going to get interest, I'm going to get sales, I'm going to get money in the till for very little ad spend. What you have to work out in business is what your customer acquisition cost is, your CAC. There's another step after it, which is customer reacquisition cost, which is the cost to reacquire them once they've been there once. So initial cost, customer acquisition cost, is the cost to get them into your business for the first time. I've worked with businesses that have had customer acquisition costs in the cents, generally cafes and those sort of things. And I've worked with businesses that have customer acquisition costs in the tens of thousands, selling $1 million pieces of machinery. Work out what your customer acquisition cost is. If your cost goes above your target figure, then your advertising needs to be adjusted, optimized, and improved. If your cost is below, you're doing great. So figure it out for your business. The best way to do this is go, if you spend $100 and acquire one customer, is it worth it? Yes, no. $10, is it worth it? Yes, no. Figure out the figure that you're happy with, or look at your data. Work out what the average spend is for your customer, work out what your cost is on that, take 10% of that, and that is probably your customer acquisition cost. For most businesses, you should be spending up to around about 3% of your gross on marketing. So there's a figure, depending on where you're at and what stage you are at in your business, that might be higher or lower. It might be low if you're a very established legacy business. It might be higher if you're in startup state. Around about 3% though is a good figure to target. Good accountant goes a long way. The important thing to note when you're doing your ad spend is there's a point where spending more money doesn't really generate more results. So there's an optimal point. I tend to find with Facebook sort of ads, I'd rather spend lower amounts of money on more ads than run one ad with a high budget. So that's always been my thought to it. I like really niche, really defined audiences when I'm creating my ads. So once we have our budget, we have who we're targeting, we have what our post is going to be. The last step is to select your placements, whether it's going to appear on Facebook, Instagram, Messenger, or just Facebook. This may affect how many people see it. And then finally, if you have a pixel, turn that on. Pixels is a whole other stage. So you're tracking cookies from your website. But then your final step is to put the payment method in and click Boost Now. Facebook will then review it. And generally, if it's your first one, it might take a couple of hours. But if you're doing advertising regularly, it might only be a few minutes before it's live. Facebook can be a little bit weird sometimes around its advertising and what it will let you promote and what it won't. I've even seen it flag and reject ads for using a lowercase f in Facebook as opposed to using capital F, which is a little odd, but I've seen it happen. So that is how we do boosting. Does anyone have any questions at this point in time before we jump over onto TikTok? If you do, now's a great time to ask those questions. Now, TikTok is a platform that is very, very fast growing. It's where Facebook was at in 2008. And that when you post something on it, it reaches an incredible audience and it actually gets out there more organically than how Facebook works today. So Facebook, you're only going to reach the audience that likes, tags, shares, comments, and clicks on your page, e.g. engaging with it, unless you use paid advertisements or they come looking for you. On Instagram, they're only going to see your content if they engage with your page or they engage with the hashtags you're using. When we start posting on TikTok, TikTok takes your videos, and it is a video platform first and foremost, takes your videos and shows it to a small audience. If that small audience engages with it, it sends it to a slightly bigger audience. If they engage with it, then it sends it to a bigger one, a bigger one, a bigger one, a bigger one. So it's entirely possible that you can put your first video on TikTok today and have 1 million views on it by the end of the week. It just depends on how good you are at creating engaging content that people are going to love, click on, and replay over and over. So TikTok is an incredible platform in that it's where Facebook was at in 2008. It's where you can really build a brand now that you cannot do on any other platform. So if we have no questions on Facebook or anything around that space, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump over onto TikTok now. Now, I do have an entire webinar that's fully dedicated just towards TikTok. It's on next Wednesday at 5:30. I alternate between my TikTok webinar and my business social media for business webinar. Just going to get my screen shared here, optimized for sound. So the first video I'm going to show you is from Pokey. He's a mechanic in Tasmania, and this is just a really great example to show how TikTok works and how his marketing works, because he only does TikTok marketing. So let's click on that and have a look.
All right, so I work on basically, I would estimate maybe, and I don't reckon it's even this high, would be 1% would be in my area are followers on TikTok. It may be a little bit higher, it might be lower. That's 1,450 people. If I get half of them as customers, I'm doing amazingly well, and this makes this worthwhile. A lot of my customers tell me they come from seeing us on TikTok, and yeah, it's working. Saying that, would I be able to service 100,000 followers? No shop in Australia could handle that. So no, I wouldn't be doing that. But most of the customers, most of the people following me aren't from this area locally, but a small percentage of them are. But that small percentage, even if it's only 1%, is more than I can handle. So yeah, that's how my marketing works.
So with TikTok, it tends to be a little bit more far-reaching. You're just as likely to reach around about 40% of your audience, thereabout, from my research, will be international. About 60% or so will be from Australia. You're more likely, you could reach someone down the road, or you can reach someone on the other side of the country. Totally possible. You can use hashtags, which can, again, help direct people to your local area using your local hashtags, like your location, region, those sort of things. But TikTok is a far-reaching platform. Facebook tends to be a localized reaching platform because your likers are built off your market that you begin with in your local area. And Instagram tends to be a little bit far-reaching like TikTok. TikTok works mostly the same way as every other platform. Just jump over here. As soon as you get onto it, it will start playing a video. That's how it works. But you have your For You, which is your random feed. You have the people that you're following. You have lives. We've got a bunch of suggested accounts. You have your posts that go up in your feed. You have your users. You have your copy, the description of your business, and you have your hashtags. The big difference with it is it also has sounds. TikTok had its origin as a music platform, dancing, all that sort of thing. My thoughts around singing and dancing on TikTok is really summed up in the name of my webinar on TikTok, which is Don't Dance for Likes on TikTok. You have your likes, you have your comments, and you have your shares. So you still have the same engagements: like, tag, share, comment, and click. The more people do that onto your content, the more popular it is, the more TikTok will send it to more people. The nice thing about TikTok, though, is you can really get specialized markets. If you have something that's very unique, search it and you'll be able to see what other people are doing, and you tend to create very niche, very trendy type markets. So I'm not going to put in accounting because it's got a different connotation, different notion, but I'm going to put in clinical hypnotherapist. I can spell, which I cannot, but it picked it up anyway. And here we go. We have a heap of videos around that topic, around that service. So you can come through here and you can see which ones are the most popular. This one is 3,000, this one 289, this one 409. So you look for the ones that are very popular, then go 3.9, have a look at how they do it, and there's opportunity there to copy them and copy their approach, put your own spin on it. The other thing with TikTok is you have business pages and you have personal pages. Business pages will give you analytics and information on it. And you can also put links through to your website. If we look at our example of our Millennium Comics and Collectibles business, we have the link through to the website. You don't get this link until you have 100 followers, or it might be 1,000 now. There has been a couple of updates around that one. I'm sorry, I don't know the exact answer. But you get at a certain number of followers, you get the ability to put a link through to your website or through to a link tree with multiple options, whatever suits you best. Once you have the link there, you'll find that you will get a lot more traffic through to your website. When we first started doing TikTok with this business, in the first month that we were doing it, we had more clicks come through to their website than we did the entire previous 12 months. So there is a lot of potential there, and actually those clicks through to the website also drove sales, which meant more money in the till. So it is beneficial with TikTok, especially if you have an online service or product that you are offering. So I've just got to let myself a little bit lost here. The sounds. So the sounds that you choose on TikTok are very important, because if someone engages with that sound, they're more likely to see more videos from that sound. Again, TikTok does have that very video-oriented approach. When you are creating content for TikTok, you do not want to use the desktop app. Much like Instagram, you're better off using your mobile phone. It's geared towards that one first. With Facebook, you're better off using a desktop because it was designed for that platform in mind first. The editing app for videos with TikTok has to be the best on mobile. Nothing comes anywhere close to it in terms of comparison. You can photograph, film, edit everything that you need to straight on their app. So it is brilliant for that. Coming back to Facebook with the stories, 15 seconds. If you're creating content for TikTok, you're probably looking at a short form in that 15 to 30 seconds. So you could take that same content and put it up on Instagram and Facebook as well. Marissa's got a question here. She asks us, how do we not become a meme? So that's actually a really hard one to answer. If you do something that's a little bit too out there, the internet will make you a meme and you don't have any say on it. I'm not a huge fan of memes. I don't believe you should ever be posting them. It's a little bit too gimmicky for my liking. There's a balance between real and stupid. You definitely want to be real, but you don't want to go over the top. There's a point. The good thing, especially with stories, is the short-term content. Before anyone jumps in and starts going crazy with TikTok, I recommend start posting stories regularly, 15 seconds. It's only up there for 24 hours. It's temporary content. So start playing there first before you jump over onto TikTok. Is there any other questions from the audience? Now is your time to ask them. While you're thinking of your questions, you can use the chat functions and the question and answer functions below. I'm going to show you the Business Station Digital Solutions page. If you're not already signed up for our program, I definitely recommend that you jump on there and do. The reason being is that you are eligible if you're a small business with less than 20 employees, registered with ABN in Queensland, Northern Territory, and Western Australia, for 7 hours of mentorship through the Digital Solutions Program for only $44. This is funded by the Commonwealth Government, and you can get help with a variety of different topics, from social media to website selling online, online security, data privacy, business software, etc., etc. There's plenty of very, very highly skilled advisors that you can link in with and do training through them. You can find our advisors, huge range, a whole heap of different specializations. So you can choose a specialization and it'll bring up the advisors area. So if I choose TikTok, there we go. There's all our advisors who specialize in TikTok. The other thing is we have all these webinars and workshops. You're in one of them today. And to sign up is easy. Just go to our Digital Solutions Business Station page, register to get started. It's reasonably simple to fill out the paperwork for it. If you do get stuck, do feel free to reach out and contact our office. We do have a support line, which you can find in the Get in Touch tab. Or send us an email. Okay, so this has been our workshop today on social media for business. Your main takeaways from tonight's webinar is that you want to have people in your content. Try and get a little bit of a plan towards your approach, as in what you're posting, when you're posting it. Focus on branding, capability, action, and testimonies. Amanda, is this guide available to watch again? If you're asking this webinar, it's going to be available for a link. You'll get sent a link after the webinar that you can watch. A lot of our webinars are also hosted and posted to YouTube as well. So if you go to YouTube, type in Digital Solutions, you'll find a huge range of webinars. If they're a little bit on the older side, I would probably tend towards the ones that are less than 6 months old, because the data and the information does change over time. When I first started consulting and doing workshops, I actually used to make up booklets. Within 12 months, I had 16 versions of the booklet on how to do social media for business. So you will get a link after this if you came in later, or if you missed something, or if I went too fast and you wanted to go back and play back over it. Any other questions, do throw them at me. So key takeaways: people in the business, focus on posts that showcase your branding, capability, call to action, testimony. If you're going to do paid advertising, I would go for a very niche market, very, very detailed, and you don't have to spend a lot of money to get out to them. Utilize your scheduled posts, find out the most active times of the day for your audience, but also play around posting at different times. But again, main key takeaway is have people in your content. As soon as you're having people in your content, you're playing by the rule of what social media is. It's social. Social is about people. So I've been Liam Fahey for the Digital Solutions Program on behalf of the Commonwealth Government of Australia's Digital Solutions Program. And this has been Social Media for Business.